Okay, this is going to be a hard conversation, only because this is a topic that I despise. It is a divisive, toxic um, rabbit hole of a conversation that nobody wins. Hi, my name is Annie, and welcome to AlieNation. We provide resources for alienated grandparents, and this is a topic that people are losing their grandkids over. Actually, it is not the entire reason, but what it is a catalyst. And one of these days, I'm going to put together all of the catalytic converters that cause these adult children to cut off their parents, because there is a treasure trove, a plethora of reasons why they cut off their parents. And that's another rabbit hole we'll go down later, but it's politics. Okay. Politics. A silly to me, it's silly and pointless to ever talk about politics. I try as much as possible not to talk about politics, especially in front of friends, because I have friends from all over the spectrum of ideology and political affiliation, because for me, your politics doesn't define who you are. But apparently in this culture, who you voted for becomes who you are. And, back in my mom's day, my parents' day, they never, ever spoke about who they voted for, like ever. I had no idea who my parents voted for. And I didn't even bother to ask, because it's just not something that is important to me, like who you voted for. That just doesn't matter to me. It doesn't define who you are. But today it does. So we are going to get started, and let me look at my notes. Okay, so why politics feels so dangerous in relationships? Like I said, I avoid this like the plague, because you can be talking about something as innocuous as gasoline, the price of gas. Okay, like if you just happen to like, oh yeah, in California, the price of gas over there is like $6. Oh my God, and blah blah blah, and he did this and he did that. You know what? It's like it it's an endless pit of pointlessness. Okay, so identity over ideas. I'm going to read some notes. Politics today often functions less as a set of policies and more as a marker of identity, like how I said earlier. When someone challenges your politics, it can feel like they're challenging who you are, and it feels like an affront. It really does feel like an attack. And, when you're having this conversation, if it comes up with your kids, it will more than likely, and I'm maybe like addressing some boomers, because the boomers are very, very passionate about who they voted for and who's in the White House and who's, this, that, and I don't care. I don't care. Okay. I don't even watch the news because it's just so gross and toxic. And, like, today is October 13th, and apparently there's a government shutdown. I had no idea what was going on because I just don't watch the news. I got too much going on in my life to be bothered with what's going on way over there. The only thing that I'm concerned about is my universe, okay? My friends, my business, my family, my community, my chamber stuff, my networking. That is what's important to me, because that directly impacts me. So anyways, I digress. So moral framing. Political disagreements tend to be wrapped in moral language, like right versus wrong, good versus bad, us versus them. We are living in an us versus them society, which, when you come down to brass tacks, when you come down to the heart of the matter, all that matters is, like I said, your family, your friends, your business, your work, your community, people who you interact with every day, what's going on in like Henderson, what's going on in Honolulu, wherever you live. That's what's important. It doesn't matter what's going on the other side of the ocean, in another country. You know what I mean? You can be aware of it, but it doesn't become who you are. So, but don't let it become who you are. And this is the reason why I'm going to always go back to the fact that your politics made you get cut off from your grandkids, because it's a very sensitive subject. So you don't bring up church, you don't really bring up religion, you don't bring up politics. Those are like basics, okay? So the erosion of small moments, so emotional amplification, social media, news, political rhetoric, that they just amplify the outrage and the vitriol. It's just disgusting. Can you tell by my face? I'm just disgusted by it all. And why are you talking in your family about that? Why are you attacking your kids about their politics? Because guess what? Most of these, and I'm talking maybe mostly women, and I got to go look up the statistics because it is a thing that women, these millennial females, are a lot of them are liberal. And if you are conservative and your kid is a liberal, that's like a dividing wall in your house, and don't allow it to be that. You can talk about things that are like more important, like, Johnny and his birthday is coming up. Who cares about your ideology? Because your ideology, who you voted for, doesn't make who you are. Just stop it already. I'm just like, can you tell him, just this is a sticking point with me. I just don't bring up politics. If you're my friend and you're watching me, or you're my family, please do not bring up politics, because I just don't care. Okay? All right. So let's talk about how it erodes small moments. Okay. It doesn't always begin with a big thing. It can start, like I said, with something really small, and then it gets amplified and it gets amplified. And the next thing you know, all the things that's important in your life is like so small compared to the blowout that you had over whatever. I'm not even going to name any things because I don't want this video to become that. Okay. So you can, your all of your important moments can be eroded little by little because of talking about politics, and that becomes a thing, and that becomes a catalyst. That becomes like the thing, like I said, that sends them off like, okay, I cannot stand mom anymore because all she talks about is politics, and I don't want my kids to be around that. Boom, the wall is shut. Okay, take note, because if that's you, your estrangement is coming, your turn is coming, and you don't want to take a turn, because I'm telling you that being in this club is not amazing. Okay, so symbol over substance. Often politics is a story we tell about a deeper divide. It really is. Politics becomes shorthand for we already don't trust each other. You don't see me, you don't understand me. And it's easier to say, oh, you believe that so, and you hurt me, instead of saying, you had this pain. You caused me this pain from when I was little, or whatever, instead of addressing the issue at hand. And again, I go back to this all the time. Instead of having a conversation about something that your parent did, like if you're the adult child, instead of having a conversation with your mom that, mom, I'm trying to be a mom. Okay. This is my first experience as a mom. Please let me experience it. Instead, you go, you keep talking about Trump, so I gotta cut you off. You know what I mean? It could be Trump. It could be Obama. It could be whoever it is. You can put the name on whatever it is. It's irrelevant, because it is a political figure that is coming between you and your family. So just stop it already. So grandparents get cut off over their political beliefs. So keep your mouth shut about it. Okay. And I'm just saying again that the reason I'm bringing this up, the reason I'm doing this video, is because it is another one of those matches in your matchbook that just, you got strike the match and throw a fire on your relationship because you just burn a bridge. Okay, like my metaphor, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So one man told Time Magazine that his family cut him out because they couldn't reconcile his continued support of a political figure. Think about that in the grand scheme of things, and what is important to your family. What's important to your family is that they are taken care of, they are fed, they are safe, that they are building a life for themselves, not who you voted for. Okay, just know. So what can you do when politics becomes the wedge in your family? You just don't debate. You can ask questions instead. Instead of like, yeah, you're wrong. Well, tell me why you feel that way. Or you know what? Instead of pulling on that thread, why don't you go, hey, can we agree to disagree? And let's just talk about what we can do for Thanksgiving, because that's much more exciting than that. Okay. Who's going to bring the turkey? Who's going to make the potatoes? Whatever, just, gently cut it off and say, hey, let's talk about our trip to San Diego so we can take Johnny to the zoo. I think that's much more exciting. So you change the subject. Okay, I'll tell you a trick about changing the subject because it works. When you're in the middle of a heated debate, when you're in the middle of a heated discussion, you just change the subject immediately and just go down another path. Like, oh, you know what, instead of that, why don't we let's plan that trip to Disneyland because I heard that they're having, a really big thing for Halloween. And then you guys go down that path instead. So, and when you hear somebody talking about fears of motivation or whatever, like talking about policies and all that, like, hey, I hear what you're saying, but let's get back to what we were talking about and planning our trip to San Diego. Okay, let's stay on topic because we can talk about that later. And I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff in front of the kids, kind of just divert the conversation. And then maybe you set boundaries for your conversations, like agree in advance. Okay, so here are the topics that are going to be off limits. Like when you're sitting down, when you're speaking rationally with your adult child or your parent, like, mom, okay, here's the topics that I just don't want to go there with this and this and this, I really would like with my videos and with my channel to teach people how to be rational human beings. We don't know how to do that anymore. It's like, imagine that. You don't know how to be a rational adult having a decent conversation. And the root word is converse, okay, not argue. All right. So, and consider a structured distance. So when you're trying this out and it doesn't it doesn't work, then you know what? Hey, instead of let's just, having all of these tense discussions, why don't we decide to let's have a timeout, okay? And let's have a timeout for a few days or a week, and let's come back and talk about this when all the tensions have been set aside, when the temperatures come down, and know when it's time to protect yourself. So why this isn't just a trendy thing? It's systemic. When they talk about systemic, it means that it is happening community system wide, right? So hyperpolarization is our public sphere now. Everybody is just polarized, meaning North Pole and South Pole. We got to learn as a community, as a family, to come back together again. So the alienation thing doesn't really happen. So, with the therapy, why I'm talking about systemic wide is because the adult kids, that they're listening to it, they're hearing it when therapists post on social media, they're watching videos about it, it comes up on YouTube, it's everywhere. And there are, in our system, in our society, there are, I don't know how to put this. In our society, there is a thing to try and divide families. I'm not the only one saying it. And the therapy industry is doing it. Social media is amplifying division. It's they're stoking the fire of us versus them. And as rational human beings, I don't care who you are watching me, but as rational human beings, we have to fight the us versus them, because when you are divided, your family is fractured, you break up the family. And then I'll go back to, when you break up the family, the kids, the upcoming generation are going to feel like they're sitting on a cliff with their feet hanging, because they won't know who they are. They won't know where they came from. They'll have no family history, no family connection. We got to stop that. Okay. We got to come together as families. And so just remember that politics should not be about competing ideas. It should not be about cutting people off. Today, it's becoming a weapon that really cuts off families and be the thing that you lose your grandkids. You don't want to lose your grandkids over politics. That's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Okay, so if this strikes a chord with you, subscribe to my channel if you will. I'm just going to change the subject real quick. Subscribe to my channel so that you can see more of my videos, and leave me a comment. If politics is a thing in your family, leave me a comment and tell me about it, because I want to interact with you, and I want to know what other people are hearing and thinking and experiencing in their family. So again, if this strikes a chord with you, like my video and subscribe and leave me a comment. And just remember that you're not broken. You're not alone. There are so many people out there experiencing the same thing. And it's not a coincidence that all of these things, that there's a trend, there is a pattern, and that there are things, tactics like this that stokes the fire to cut you off. Okay, so that's what I had to share today. Again, my name is Annie. I would love for you to subscribe to AlieNation, and we will see you on the next video. Ta-ta for now. TTFN.